Now, last week it was announced that Prince William is coming to Israel. Is this another significant event for Israel's 70th anniversary?
That's a miracle. It shows that we live in an era of miracles because up until now, none of the members of the royal family, the British royal family, has ever been to Israel except into state funerals. And this was very short. They were short visits. I think it shows something. Maybe too late. I was born under British government. I was born under Palestine government, and I would like to see the Brits again, not ruling the country, but visiting the country. I think it's an important step. I don't know who was standing behind, and maybe it shows that finally, after 70 years, Britain accepted the very fact that they were literally kicked out of the Middle East and from Israel. And okay, after 70 years, it's time to wake up and say we are not going back. Israel is independent. Israel is the state of the Jewish people, and we come and visit with you. That's fine.
I'm with Fadi, originally from Gaza, and we're talking about Prince William's visit. Now, is it important that Prince William will visit Mahmoud Abbas next week?
It's a good question. Yeah, of course, we are welcoming anyone from the whole world, to come to visit Palestine and everywhere. It's a freedom to come, and it's meaning encouragement for Palestinian people and supporting what Palestinian facing in that time, in difficult time. If it's encouraging for the president Mahmoud Abbas and for Palestinian, it's King William coming to visit. It's meaning England. Wow, it's a big country to King William to come. It's meaning a lot for us like a Palestinian. We like that, and we encourage people from outside to come to visit Palestine and Mahmoud Abbas, our president, and we pray God give the boss wisdom how to support really the Palestinian people.
Now, he will hear about issues facing refugee communities. Is this important?
Yes, refugees all around like Syria, Iraq, but our issues, Palestinian, is very important because until 48, until now, from 67, and still now we are facing not have our rights to return to our homes or our countries, but it's bad situation in refugees camp around our area, West Bank, Gaza, through buildings, water, many issues facing the refugee. He lost everything. It's bad feeling from inside, emotion, like I am what my ID, where I am now, who I am. It's facing about the ID issue.
Now, he will get to talk to young people. Do you think it's important that he talks to young people? Are young people going through difficulties? And what would you want the young people to share with him?
Through that question, I have many questions for that, but I encourage young people to open hearts and to share what is future, what's the fear from future. We are like Palestinian because we have many issues like refugees, where the next step through the cases like politics, like economic, facing the young adult and thinking, I want to go out to see my future, but it's good to young others open hearts and to share the fear, what are they facing in difficult situation.
Now, he will celebrate Palestinian culture, music and food. What sort of food do you think he's going to eat?
We have many foods, traditional foods. I encourage him because I am from Gaza to eat fish. It's very delicious. We have many. We have food like upside down. we have a traditional. We are very happy to see that, to taste that. It's very important.
If he was to come to your house, what would you give him?
Fish. And pray for him.
Okay, Fadi, thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope that the next days to be a blessing for both sides, to be peace, really peace in hearts.
I'm here in Jerusalem with Itamar, and we're talking about Prince William's visit tomorrow. Prince William is coming to Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Are you happy that he's coming?
Yes, it's welcome that such an important dignitary from Britain is coming. Absolutely.
Will he have to walk a political tightrope while he's here?
Apparently he will, because he's apparently not willing to recognize Israel's rights and Israel's sovereignty in Jerusalem. It was said that he used the term occupied Jerusalem to refer to East Jerusalem. As you know, and as the world should know, the land of East Jerusalem was never, ever part of anything Palestinian ever in history. So how could it be occupied Palestinian land? And I think that's a big mistake, unfortunately. But we welcome him anyway, and we hope it'll be also not only pleasurable for him, but also possibly informative, and maybe he will learn a little bit more about the region and about the history, and he'll recognize Israel's rights to Jerusalem.
What do you want to hear from him?
In a visit like this, I really just want to hear messages of peace. I would be very happy if he would criticize some of the impediments to peace that come from the Palestinian side, school books that promote intense hatred, of school books that glorify killers of Israelis as role models and heroes. But I don't believe he will get that much information here in such a short time. But if he would, that would possibly be helpful. I don't believe the Palestinian Authority is ever going to change their hate ways until international leaders like Prince William call them out on this publicly, shame them publicly for what they're doing to their children, filling them with hate, teaching them to be martyrs. If someone of his stature would make a statement like that, it could be part of the shaming, and that's what will be needed if we're going to have peace.
I'm here with Rosie Ross, who's been living here in the land for 20 years, but is originally from the UK. Now, Rosie, Prince William is coming to Israel. Is this a significant visit?
I think it's very significant. This is the first time in 70 years of the State of Israel that there's been a full official royal visit.
Now he's going to tour Yad Vashem. Is that important to go to Yad Vashem?
I think it's important for anybody who comes to Israel to go to Yad Vashem. The history of the Holocaust, the history of the persecution of the Jewish people is vitally important for people to understand the situation today, for the Jewish people to understand how deep-rooted this sense of being persecuted and the reality of being persecuted is within the Jewish psyche. It was a terrible, terrible atrocity, as we all know, but it's very easy for us to know the facts. But I think going to Yad Vashem enables one to take it deeper and actually hear some of the personal stories and personal testimonies actually that are recorded, but he will also meet Holocaust survivors themselves. So that will be a wonderful opportunity for him.
Now, it is Israel's 70th birthday. Do you think it's important that he comes on Israel's 70th birthday?
I think it's very significant. I'm delighted that he's coming on Israel's 70th birthday. It's a real milestone in the history of Israel. And biblically, you can say that we look at the prophet Daniel and the release from the Babylonian captivity after 70 years. And so there can be a sense in which, Israel is in some way released from captivity after 70 years.
Now, are Israelis happy that he's coming?
I wouldn't like to speak for all Israelis. I think it's mixed. I think on the whole, people are hopeful. But of course, there has been a difficulty in the relationship between Britain and Israel, which stems back to the time of the British Mandate. The British very much reneged on promises made under the Balfour Declaration and in the San Remo Treaty, 1920. And so as a result of that, there are still many who are alive today who remember the time of the mandate, who remember being on the ships that were turned away by the British. There is still that very deep legacy within Israel that many British people are not aware of, and we very much hope that the Prince himself will be made aware of that fact and that there will be an apology that will come from the royal family and the government.
Are you happy that he's coming?
I'm delighted that he's coming. I'm really delighted that he's coming. I think it's wonderful after 70 years that he's coming.
Okay, Rosie, thank you much. I'm with Rosemary from the Anglican School here in Jerusalem. Now, Rosemary, you're going to be meeting with Prince William. Are you excited about this particular event?
Yes, I'm really excited about it. I'm from the UK, I'm English, and I love the royal family, so this is something that I'm really I consider an honour and a privilege.
How did you get the opportunity to actually go to meet him?
I've had a personal invitation here because I'm the director of the Anglican International School Jerusalem, and the fact that I suppose because I'm British.
Which event are you going to?
I'm going to an evening event at the British Consulate.
Have you been given certain protocol as to how to meet him?
Yeah. Not necessarily protocol as what to say or how to curtsy, if that's what you mean. I've had a letter to say that no electronic devices need to be switched on and no cameras allowed. Whether there'll be an official photographer and I'll get a picture, I really don't know. Whether I will actually meet him personally, I really don't know.
What are you hoping he's going to say on this trip?
I'm hoping he's going to see that there are two sides to the conflict. I'm hoping that he's going to be balanced in his views. I'm hoping that he will see the good things that people are doing in Jerusalem. I'm hoping that he would want to know more about the Anglican school and how we have so many internationals here, how we have all faiths here, all religions here, Palestinians, Jewish people, all backgrounds, and how we work for reconciliation in the school. I'd like him to know that and understand that.
Today we're at Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Museum, because Prince William is visiting. And during his visit, he got the chance to meet two Holocaust survivors. One of them is Henry Foner, who is 86 years old and is a survivor of the Kindertransport rescue effort. A journalist asked him to share his story.
6 years old in 1938. My father came and told me that I was going to be sent to the United Kingdom. He didn't tell me why. And he asked me to pray for the folk who were going to take me, which I did. A few months later, he came and told me the plans had been changed and would I please transfer my prayers from the previous people to the new people who were going to take me. And they were called Mr. and Mrs. Foner. They lived not in England, I can tell you lot, not in England, but in Wales. And it's difficult with the American press. So I found myself on a train when I was 6 with a lot of other children, none of whom I knew, traveling from Berlin to Britain. We were stopped at the border and Gestapo or police or whatever they were came in and searched our one suitcase and did a body search. And I'm telling you this because when the doors slammed shut and the train moved forward a few hundred meters, the doors opened again and we were in Holland, and there were ladies in white coats and white hats, and they were dishing out cold drinks and hot dogs with mustard. And everybody who was on those trains remembers those hot dogs. Anyway, we went to Holland, we got on a ferry, we got on a train at Harwich. We got to Liverpool Street Station, and we were in a large hall and we waited. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody spoke English. Nobody there spoke German. Eventually a lady came and collected our group. There were about 30 kids. We got on the train at Paddington and we went to Swansea, and we were delivered to our host families. There was a very small community, perhaps 300 or 400 Jews in Swansea, and they took about 30 children. And that was a big thing, really, because each child had to have a £50 deposit. It was a lot of money in those days, to make sure that they would go out, and nobody got any payment for all this. So people took those children from the goodness of their hearts, mostly. So after a few days when I didn't eat, and of course we couldn't communicate very well because they spoke Yiddish. It was a bit like German, so somehow we managed. They sent me to school, and I became a schoolboy in Wales. It was, looking back on it, very simple really. I missed my family obviously, and they missed me, and so they sent these postcards, mainly my father. Nearly every day there was a postcard. And the people who adopted me, let's say, they never pretended to be my parents. They didn't try to replace them. They always said, Henry, when the war finishes, we'll see what happened to your family. So I called them uncle and aunt, and we changed my name from Heinz Lichtwitz to Heinz became Henry, and the Lichtwitz became Foner because it wasn't a good idea to wander around with such a German-sounding name, and they didn't want to explain all the time who this little kid is. So I became Henry Foner, and I stayed that way because if I think about my family, I think about the Foners.
Henry was asked, did you have any idea what was happening back in Germany at the time?
No. I knew it wasn't a good thing to be a Jew. That I did know.
Henry was asked, what did your parents write to you in your postcards?
When my mother was dead already, my father, what did he write in the cards? Oh, just, things you write to a 6-year-old kid. How are you? Hope you're being a good boy. Keep writing, and so on and so on. I was able to write to him. If you read the postcards in the book, it says, not enough. Write more. And those postcards stopped on the eve of the war. And Mr. and Mrs. Foner, Uncle and Auntie, they kept those postcards, and they gave them to Judy and me when we got married. And I had a photo book made of them for the children because they're the originals I gave to Yad Vashem. And then I gave a copy to Yad Vashem, and they said, let's make an album out of it and expand it. So that's what we did. And so that's why I'm here, I think, because I wrote this book, which is called Postcards to a Little Boy. My father ended up in Auschwitz. He was actually taken as a hostage. My father was a lawyer, but of course he couldn't work as a lawyer. And he worked for the Jewish Community Council. And right at the end, when the Germans were clearing the last Jews out of Berlin, they made members of the Community Council come with them to notify the final lot of Jews to turn up next morning. And they said, if you don't turn up, we'll either take your families or we'll take high officials from the Community Council. Well, some of them, of course, ran away, justifiably, and they took 20 hostages, one of which was my father. They shot, I think, 8 or 6, I can't remember, but not my father. They shipped him to Auschwitz, and he and his second wife were gassed there.
Again, Henry was asked, you obviously weren't aware of this at the time. When did you find out?
No. After the war, my grandmother was sent to Theresienstadt, and she came back. Transport was 1,200 and something people, and to Theresienstadt, which was, the show camp, the easy one. 200 and something came back, so everything is relative. She wrote to me, and she could speak English because I'd forgotten my German by this time.
And I got the chance to ask Henry a question, and I asked him, how do you feel about meeting Prince William today?
I feel very excited, actually. Well, first of all, because I was a soldier in the British Army and saw active service, and so did he, in a way. And, I'm really very, very grateful to Britain. They saved my life. It's as simple as that. And it's a sort of fairy story. Little refugee kid is sent to a country, knows nobody. He's lucky, he's sent to nice people who look after him and who's in contact with their family today. And then one day he gets a chance to meet the prince and say thank you. Don't you think it's like a fairy story? Yeah.